Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratvishe Nama Nama Srishtam Manamapi Satchiputram Atra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagaram Rupurim Matarim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurung Tang Natosmi Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are celebrating the glorious appearance of Lord Krishna, and we are celebrating under unusual circumstances which we certainly would not have imagined 1 year ago at this time, that we also celebrated Lord Krishna's appearance. Last year, in so many temples around the world, not only in India, but so many Krishna temples around the world, so many people crowded in. Srila Prabhupada would often make this point about Janmasthami, Krishna Janmasthami, that this is a non-sectarian festival, that in India, people from all different backgrounds, different faiths, are visiting Krishna's temple at least on this day. So with these unusual circumstances, we are all experiencing an intensified sense of uncertainty. It seems as if the usual uncertainty of the material world has been magnified manyfold. And with uncertainty comes fear. And as we think about Krishna's appearance, Lord Krishna appeared so many ages ago amidst so much fear. Kamsa himself was the embodiment of fear. He was fear personified. From the moment he heard that the 8th child of Devaki will be the cause of his death, he could only think of Krishna day and night. But there was also fear of Kamsa. Because of Kamsa's fear of Krishna, he sent his minions to Vrindavan, to Golok, to Gokula, all with one purpose only, and that was to eliminate the source of Kamsa's fear. We may say that much of our celebration, therefore, today is the elimination of fear by Krishna. Krishna, we celebrate that he destroyed all of those demons, those monsters who came to destroy him. And then in the end, what does he do? He realizes, he makes happen exactly what was predicted by the invisible voice in the sky, ironically invited to Mathura by Kamsa. There he pummels Kamsa to a very quick and decisive death. And with his death, he destroys the embodiment of fear, which then opens the way for the devotees, opens the heart of the devotees to allow Krishna to reside freely in our hearts, where we can then freely worship him, serve him, praise him, associate with him. Srila Prabhupada would often quote Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 9, especially on the occasion of Krishna Janmasthami. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvata tyaktva punar janma naitimam eti. So Arjuna. One particular occasion, August 21st, 1973 in London, on Janmashtami Day, and I was trying to remember, I very much remember the occasion in a more general sense. I was present there, but I have to confess, at present I'm not remembering this Prabhupada giving this lecture. In any case, he quoted this verse, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, and he said, this fact that we can achieve such a state of life when we can stop our birth and death. So this fact, Srila Prabhupada saw this is Krishna speaking. Krishna only speaks truth. He is speaking fact. And then he quoted a verse, another verse from Bhagavad Gita, Yam hi navyatayantyete purusham purushar shabha samaduka sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. And he called attention to this word amrita, and amritatvaya. Those who are not disturbed by happiness and distress, by the different dualities, qualify for amrita, for nectar, for immortality. And then he went on to elaborate on this point. He says, we living entities, we never die, never take birth. And he quoted again the Gita, Nitya Shashvato Yam na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Every one of us, we are eternal. Nitya Shashvato Ayam na, what is it? Yeah, Nitya Shashvato Purano. We are the oldest, he said. And after annihilation of this body, we do not die. Nahanyate. The body is finished, but I have to accept another body. Tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara. Again, Prabhupada referring to Krishna's teaching on this most basic point of our identity, our eternality. This simple and yet so difficult point, we can say this is what Krishna comes to this world to teach us. He comes to inform us. And where does he do this? He does this on a battlefield, the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's also a situation of great uncertainty, similar to the time of his so-called birth, when there was such great fear. Now there is great fear because of the battle, the great war of Kurukshetra, which is about to take place. So amidst such difficulty, Krishna gives us opportunity to understand, first and foremost, who we are. And to thereby open us to the possibility, a possibility which is hard to imagine because we live in the mortal world, the possibility of our own eternity. And then he offers with this opportunity, another opportunity together with a challenge. He says, again, this verse, Janma Karma Chame Divya. Basically, he's offering us, understand my Janma, understand my karma, understand them in truth, tattvata. So this is like a condition, and then you understand my janma and my karma in truth, then never take birth again. So the challenge becomes to understand Krishna's janma and karma in truth. And so we may well ask, what does Krishna really mean by tattvata? How much do we need to understand? To what extent, what does this mean for us? Because this is critical. If we understand, then no more rebirth. If we sort of understand, but maybe not quite understand, oh, then what? So how do we understand Krishna's janma and karma? We know very well. We hear from Krishna. How do we hear from Krishna? We hear from Krishna's representatives. And by hearing, we gradually can understand the specific truth that his janma, his karma, are divyam. They are not the same as our birth and our activities. Not at all the same. And yet, there is something about them similar. His transcendental identity is expressed in an interesting way by Shripad Kavikarnapura in his Ananda Vrindavan Champu. I'd like to read the Sanskrit verse. He's known, Kavikarnapura was so named by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he recognized him from early childhood to be a kavi, a poet. So Kavikarnapura wrote in his Ananda Vrindavan Champu, Atma Rahaman Madhura Charitayar Bhakti Yoge Vidasyan Nana Lila Rasarachanaya Anandayishyan Swabhaktan Daityani Kair Bhuvamatitaram Vitabaram Karishyan Murtanando Vrajapati Grihe Jatavat Pradurasit. To direct those satisfied in the self, Atma Raman, to the discipline of devotion, Bhakti Yoga, with his charming acts, Madhura Charitai, to delight his own devotees, Svabhaktan, with the rasa-rich performance of his various plays, Nana Lila Rasarachanaya Nandayishyan, to remove the earth's oppressive burden caused by the demon armies, Daitya Anikai, the demon armies, Bhuyam Atitaram, to remove, Vitabaram Karishyan, to remove the burden, Vitaraga Karishyan, to do that. And here's, you can say the punchline, Murtananda Vrajapati Grihe Jatavat Pradurasit. The embodied bliss appeared in the home of the Vraja king like a newborn. Jatavat, like one who has been born. Here the important word is Murtananda. And it's been pointed out that Kavikarnapura in particular puts a lot of emphasis in his writing on this point, that the Lord exists in his in embodied bliss and also disembodied bliss. And in one sense, these are equal. But it is the embodied bliss, Murta Ananda, which makes all the difference, which prevails. So we understand the Lord's appearance is one of Murta Ananda, and therefore his janma, his karma, must be divyam, must be transcendent. Beyond everything of this world. But now one may say, or one might not say, one might just think, okay, Krishna is transcendental. Very good. So nothing to do with this world. In fact, there was popular philosophy or theology in the 18th century in Europe, deism, the idea that God is a transcendental clockmaker. He has created the world. He has wound up the clock of the world, and then he left. And the clock is ticking away. Maybe it will run down one day, but in any case, he's gone. He's nowhere to be seen. No, that is by no means the case. He comes, he actually comes to this world, and that we call Janma, although as Srila Prabhupada would explain so many times, just as, we say that the sun rises, it's not that the sun rises. The earth turns and then we see the sun. So Krishna is always there, but okay, he appears in this world. So we say that is Janma. And so that's Janma, and then there's karma. And he acts. And his acts have profound effects. His acts have effects beyond any acts that we may undertake. Specifically, as we just read in the verse from Kavikarnapura, he has his acts of directing, first of all, the Atma Ramas. We don't run into a lot of these Atma Ramas on the street nowadays, usually, but okay, in case they're there. Krishna directs them to take up bhakti yoga, vidasyan. And second, he delights. Who does he delight? He delights the devotees. Svabhaktan, nana lila rasarachanayanan dayishyan, causing them to be delighted. And of course, integral to Krishna's coming to this world is his removing those who are a disturbance. Daityani kair, bhuvamatitaram, vitavaram, karishyan. And so our understanding that janma karma chame divyam is, in a sense, modified, but I would say more importantly, enriched by this understanding. Krishna actually appears in the world. He acts in the world, and he acts in wonderful ways. But now someone may say, all right, that's nice. So what? That was how many years ago, how many centuries ago, how many millennia ago that Krishna appeared? What does that help us? So Srila Rupa Goswami advises us to allow ourselves to become excited by remembering Krishna and his pastimes. And the technical word here is vibhava. And the two subcategories, alambana and uddipana vibhava, are giving us a whole wide variety of impetuses, of excitants, of ways to be excited about Krishna. Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. Krishna, his person as alambana, and then his qualities, his cheshta, his endeavors or pastimes, his ornaments, and so on, his flute playing, everything about Krishna can excite the devotee. So many other things, not just Krishna, the clouds in the sky, the dark clouds in the sky can excite remembrance of Krishna. In particular, his cheshta, which Srila Rupa Goswami identifies very briefly just as, for example, what does he give as example? The rasa dance and what Rupa Goswami calls dushtavadha, the killing of demons. These can be, remembrance of these can be excitants for us. And as such, we can be purified, benefited, connected with Krishna. Now to this first, the rasa dance. We may think, well, yes, rasa dance, I'm not supposed to even think about the rasa. That's so exalted. Forget about rasa dance. What else do you have? Okay, killing demons. Yes, that we can talk about. No, rasa dance, rasa lila, and an interesting indicator to encourage us is a statement by Bhishma, who is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, about to leave his body. He has given so many instructions to Yudhishthira and all others who were present. Lord Krishna is personally present, and now he's offering prayers to Krishna. And this is what Bhishma Dev says. Lalita gati vilasa valguhasa pranayanirikshana kalpito rumana kritamanu kritavatya unmadanda prakritimagan kila yasya gopavadva. Let my mind, so he's praying to Krishna, let my mind be fixed upon Lord Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Rajadama, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance. Bhishma Deva is speaking this immediately after he's speaking about how Krishna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we have one other verse from Bhishma Deva just before this. He's saying, Sapadi sakivacho nishamya madhye nija parayor balayor ratam niveshya. Stitavati parasainikayur akshna hritavati parta sake ratir mamastu. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Shri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana, and while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. He simply glanced at the opposite party with his merciful glance. And in this way, he shortened their lifespans. So we may not be able to remember Krishna in his Rasa Lila. Maybe we feel it is too exalted. then let us remember Bhishma Dev remembering Rasa Lila. And we can remember Bhishma remembering Krishna, how he annihilates, he actually annihilates practically everyone, because he says, Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravidho lokan samahartam iha pravidha. I'm time. I've come to destroy everything. Don't mind. Okay, we can remember in this way, but on this day, Krishna Janmasthami, we especially want to remember Krishna as a little baby. First, we want to remember his parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, how much trouble they endured, and how much determination they exhibited, how much anxiety, how much uncertainty they were feeling, how much restriction they were suffering. They were imprisoned for so many years. They were in lockdown. They were in quarantine for so many years. And even though they were in such close quarters, we don't read that Vasudeva and Devaki were fighting with each other. They were simply remembering the Lord and anticipating him. And then we want to remember the Lord in the lap of Mother Yashoda, apparently helpless, and yet how effortlessly he kills the demons as a baby, killing Putana just by sucking her breast, killing Trinavarta by taking a ride with him up in the air and giving him a good punch, killing Shakatasura again as a baby, just by kicking with his feet. And of course, we like to remember Krishna killing these demons because, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells us, we can remove the obstacles that burden our hearts by remembering these killings, each one a particular obstacle. Putana, false guru or false gurus, Trinavarta, false arguments, Shakadashura, very interesting, he says, is the burden of regulative principles. Here, someone may think, oh, so that means we can just remember Shakatasura killing and then we can forget about regulative principles. No. What it means is to experience them as a burden and to overburden oneself with principles just for the sake of following principles, not understanding the purpose of the principles. And yes, we want to remember Krishna's incredible form. We can allow ourselves to be excited by Krishna's beautiful form, and we can take help, again, from Kavi Karnapura to appreciate this transcendental baby form of the Lord. So I want to read this, and I'll try to read not too fast for our translator. Hearing the sounds of his soft crying, the women of Vraja's town, who were then awake now, as if anointed with the greatest affection, as if scented, or with the most fragrant oil, with beauty, as if bathed with sweetness, as if polished with elegance, as if tinged with grace, as if adorned with the wealth of the three worlds, as if worshipped by the home's goddess, with the reflection of the delivery room's lamps. Delivery room's lamps' flames, as if they were champak flowers, as if turning with the splendor of the tiny sprouts of his limbs, the lights of all those lamps into budding blue lilies. Not so easy to translate this, I imagine. Like a seedling with a shining king of sapphires, like a twig of a tamal tree, like a sprout of a new rain cloud, like a forehead's mark of musk of the three worlds' beauty, like an ointment of the totality of fortune. Though comforting the maternity room, also quelling all misfortune, though a child, also adorned with soft locks of hair, beheld him. We're talking about the mothers, the women of Raja's town. The mothers beheld him lying on his back, his eyes closed like buds, the buds of his lotus hands clenched into fists, as if to secure the marks like fish and goad that mark the Lord with the tender fingers of his most adorable hands. That was all one sentence of Kavi Karnapura, and this is how he describes Krishna's pastimes in the Ananda Vrindavan Champu. So we especially think of Krishna in this form of helplessness, remembering at the same time that he is anything but helpless. But we also want to remember that the Lord reveals himself in so many ways. And he reveals himself in so many ways to different devotees. He also reveals himself to his enemies. And if we allow Krishna to reveal himself to us, he can reveal himself to us. But this takes practice. And what do we mean by practice? Well, we know the term sadhana, sadhana bhakti. And now here is something very interesting Srila Prabhupada said about sadhana. This was on a morning walk in Bombay on the beach, 1975, December. Lokanath Swami, His Holiness Lokanath Swami was there. He reports this. Prabhupada said, sadhana bhakti is practice. Truth is there, but how to be intimately connected with the truth That is sadhana. How to be intimately connected with the truth, that is sadhana. So, truth. Truth means knowing Krishna in truth. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tatvata. Krishna tells us it's possible. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us it's possible. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives us a whole program how to do it. Satsanga Krishna Seva Bhagavata Nama Brajevasa E Pancha Sadhana Pradana. And so we have no excuse. Even though the circumstances are unusual, even though we feel so much uncertainty, or we may want to say, because these are unusual circumstances, because we feel such uncertainty, now is the time to remember the certainty who is Krishna. Our existence, we feel ourselves, just like Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. Devotee wants to say, I feel, therefore I am. I feel devotion, therefore I am. That certainty is secured, securable. It can be obtained. How? By practicing what Srila Prabhupada so much, how many times called Krishna consciousness. And the essence of that is to chant Krishna's names. We hear from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyata. And from one other poet, Madhuram, Madhurebhyopi, Mangalebhyopi, Mangalam, Pavanam, Pavanebhyopi, Harinam, Eva Kevalam. The holy name of the Lord is Madhuram, it is sweet. Of sweet things, it is sweetness. Of Mangala things, of auspicious things, it is the embodiment of auspiciousness. Of purifying things, Pavana, the holy name is the embodiment of purification. Harinam eva kevalam. And therefore, Abrahma, Stambhaparyantam sarvamaya mayam jagat satyam, satyam, truth, truth. Puna satyam, harinam eva kevalam, the entire material creation from Brahma all the way down to the clump of grass is a product of Maya, the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Harinam eva kevalam, the only truth, satyam, satyam, param satyam, is the holy name of the Lord. That is our sadhana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this sadhana to chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that we see devotees are doing with great determination. We can take inspiration from seeing all the devotees doing this, again, even from a distance. And we can feel in that way the presence of the Lord. We feel the presence of the Lord through the Lord's devotees, and we sense the enthusiasm of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to continue the spreading of the Sankirtan movement for the benefit of everyone through the enthusiasm and great determination of the devotees all over the world, and in our midst. So on this day, we can pray to the Lord that he bless us all individually, collectively, that we keep within our hearts this sense of resolve, whatever the external circumstances are, to find within ourselves, to allow Krishna to appear and to remain with us, to be well situated deep in our hearts, but not to hide him in our hearts, to allow also the Lord to come forth through our enthusiasm, through our sincerity, through our purity, to serve him and serve all the devotees of the Lord. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandho Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute. Hare Krishna. So I will end there and say thank you all very much for joining us. And I wish you a wonderful remainder of Janmasthami festival. Also Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja day tomorrow. The connection of Prabhupada's appearance with Krishna's appearance is very appropriate and as it should be. We are doubly reminded of divine grace simply by having this back-to-back festival as we celebrate today and tomorrow. So, Hare Krishna, thank you all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Krishna Janmasthami Titi ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundara ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gokula Nanda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Londonishwara ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Raman ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Haribo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you very much, everybody, for participation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji and Prabhu. Thank you very much for arranging everything.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Happy Janmashtami.
Happy Janmashtami.